I'm going to try to make this quick. I've got stuff to do. But I thought this was a worthwhile discussion, even if we don't actually discuss. I'll just throw this out there and you can contemplate it, discuss it with yourself. During the last New York City Comic-Con, I was there, I was walking the floor, I came across a booth where people were handing out flyers, a petition to ask theaters not to air Ender's Game. Ender's Game, the movie, was adopted from a somewhat venerated science fiction novel by a man named Orson Scott Card. Now, the reason that these petitioners wanted the movie not to be shown in theaters was because the novelist, Orson Scott Card, the guy who created Ender's Game, has gone on record in the past as stating that he's very much against homosexuality and the idea of gay marriage. Very much against it. I think he might have recanted these views publicly in 2013. Or he might have just said in passing that he no longer believes that, but I don't know how genuine he is. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. So, the stance that these people were taking in handing out these flyers was that by not supporting the film, they would not support the work of this man who had apparently biased views against homosexuals. Now, I myself am in support of gay marriage. I see no reason why people shouldn't be allowed to do what they want with the idea of marriage. It's not my business what they do with it. I certainly don't want to suppress anyone's individual freedoms, and anyone who does, I don't support them. But is supporting someone's work the same as supporting them? Well, you might say yes, very much so, but at the same time, does the work itself deserve some consideration? Now, it would be easy enough to force the movie out of theaters. I don't follow Ender's Game. I was never much of a fan of Orson Scott Card's work, never paid it any attention, but I'm sure that there are people who are fans of it, who have read it, who enjoy the movie. Though the movie wasn't really any great shakes from what I saw, but I didn't watch it that closely. It brings to mind the author of The Wizard of Oz. Now, do you like The Wizard of Oz? I think the answer is probably yes, or if you don't like it, you can at least respect it as a rather enduring piece of Americana, of popular culture. The movie and the book, there are things that have contributed greatly to, well, humanity as we know it, generally, all things considered in its subtle way. But L. Frank Baum, the author, actually advocated the extermination of the Native American population when he was alive. He did other things. He nice things, but that was not one of the nicer things that he did. He wrote down that for the safety of the settlers, the Indians had to be exterminated. But we can't not like The Wizard of Oz, can we? Should we take The Wizard of Oz off the shelves? We generalize groups of people. We generalize races, we generalize sexual orientation, we generalize gender. It's important not to do that. People have to be judged as individuals, by and large. But it's also important, I think, not to generalize individuals themselves. Because each person carries with them a whole army of different facets. We can generalize individuals by saying this person is bad or this person is good, so everything they do is bad or good. We might not like to admit this, we might not like to think it, but the fact of the matter is that jerks can still contribute greatly to society. Someone can be a bastard and still make something beautiful. I'm not a perfect person, but I would like to think that if my flaws were ever to come to light, people would still be able to admire my work for what it is. I think we need to be more discriminating, more subtle in our perceptions. So no, I would not support banning Ender's Game from the theaters. I understand where the petitioners were coming from, but I can't get on board with that. What do you think? And you don't have to start a discussion in the comments or anything like that. Stuff like this tends to run away with itself in comment sections. Not that I think that I have a wide enough viewership for something like that to really get started. But let's just leave it that I believe that you can condemn things that people do and not condemn other things that they do. You can't throw the good out with the bad. Life is intricate and complex, and so are the people. You have to really look into them. You're not going to agree with everything that anyone thinks and does. And in some cases, like in the case of L. Frank Baum and Orson Scott Card, you can disagree very vehemently with some of the things that they say and do. But at the same time, you owe it to yourself to allow yourself to appreciate things that they do that can contribute positively to the human race at large. That's the whole point of Zebra Girl, I think. She's colored like a zebra, black and white, but that's the thing, it's not. She's shades of gray. It's not just good or evil. Really, this is just something I'm thinking to myself, and I'm illustrating through this video. Help me work it out myself, I suppose. You could argue, of course, that there are things that must be condemned because of the way that they were created, because of their creators, say medical procedures. If a doctor creates a new medical procedure using illegal experimentation on patients, that, of course, you could argue invalidates the medical research because it should not be used on moral grounds. And I'm not going to say you're wrong. That in itself is another thorny issue. You can make arguments for both sides, though in that case the product itself and the act of creation is tainted by an immoral act. Does that apply to works of fiction, arguably medicine for the soul? Just give it some thought.